What's up, AfterBuzzers? It's Lim Gonsalves here for another, the series finale of House of Lies. Let's get it while I cry.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
We used to roll at the rink.
Did you pick music that was purposely a little sad because we are bidding our adieu?
I did. Goodbye. I was purposely doing this because I'm all in my feelings.
You're in your feelings today?
As I said in the intro, I am.
It's sad, huh?
It's very sad. Like, you know, this is a really, really good show.
It's a great show.
And it's leaving us for good. All the characters that we fell in love with. I don't know.
It's tragic, and I have some beefs, but we'll discuss.
Yeah. Just Donis. We had Donis here last week.
I know.
He grew up on the show.
Right.
Like,
10 to 17.
Right.
Like,
that's crazy.
You literally saw him go through puberty, evolve as a young man.
All of that.
His talent and skill set.
All of that.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was. So let's we're going to get into it. We're kind of going to jump around because, like I said, it is the last season, the last series, it's just
everything.
Pains.
Five seasons. Five seasons of House of Lies.
Yeah.
Really good seasons.
Yeah. So, okay. We talked a little bit about it, and you kind of said you had some beef. So, overall, let's deal with this episode, last episode of House of Lies. Overall, Jill Munroe, what did you think overall about the episode?
I give it a B-.
B-? A
B-.
Okay. Why?
So I give it a B- because there's a couple of things. One, I felt that because Jeremiah and Roscoe are so integral, sorry, I can't talk today, because they are such an important part of Marty's life. We're just going to skip over the word because it's not working out,
just give the definition.
We're just going to keep it moving.
Right.
So the fact that they weren't shown in the series finale was kind of a letdown for me.
Right.
Because, and we'll get to what happened, but I just felt like I wanted some resolution with them as well.
Gotcha.
So that was a disappointment to me. And artistically, I got what the director was doing, sort of jumping around in time.
Sure.
And it's not that I sort of mind that concept, but in this particular instance, I don't feel like it worked. I felt like it was a bit choppy, and it left me confused in parts. So
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I would give it a B+ though.
Okay.
Only because, and only when it says a B+, I do agree with seeing Jeremiah and Roscoe. There should have been some resolution with that. I do also, given the fact that this is a 30-minute show. So what they've been able to accomplish in 30 minutes, these episodes, I really wish it was an hour show. I kind of think about it when I think about the whole series. It's like they could have done an hour and still been amazing.
Really could have.
I think what they did in the 30 minutes and how they, segued and did different things, I think was dope. But in this particular, at least maybe the finale could have been an hour. Maybe something like that, just to give us some closure. I do like the way it ended. I do like the way it ended, and we'll get into that. I do like the way it ended, but I think, going back to the whole direction of it kind of jumping around, starting as it finished, type of thing. Starting as it finished was good. I've seen that before, but the whole jumping around in between, I was confused. I had to rewind, some parts. I was like, wait.
I had to catch up. I wasn't sure at what moment we were at. And I knew that we were doing the rewind, jump forward because I saw but it just for me, it left me sort of feeling disjointed about certain things.
And especially, again, for a finale, when you want it to be as clear as possible.
Exactly.
So I get you. So as I said before, it did start as it finished, and we do see Marty and Jeannie stranded on the beach.
Yes.
And we're just like, wait, what?
What's going on?
What's this? And of course, they come back to that at the end, so we find out. So basically, we know from the last episode that the whole situation was they needed to go to Cuba because they needed to make this deal work. They had basically it should be called the fighting, not the Cole brothers, the fighting brothers,
right?
Because they're always fighting all the time, like it's crazy, like really fist fighting, like they really get into
going at it, like I think it's scars hilarious. And everything.
It's hilarious. But they basically were trying to get their business and get them to be the person that they purchase, as opposed to Monica's company. And so in doing that, they had to secure Cuba, and that was going to basically take them over the edge and be the winner. And they even said that. They said whoever gets to Cuba basically wins. That you win. So, of course, they arrive in Cuba, and so Marty kind of does this thing where he's done in previous episodes and kind of throughout the series where he kind of talks to the audience, breaks the fourth wall and says, hey, this is what we're trying to do. And he basically divulges his plan to take over Cuba. And so they run into Monica, which, of course, that was going to happen.
Right.
I mean, that was inevitable.
Yeah.
She's the nemesis, so they had to get past her, and she's the one that's also... And I love how, they kind of go back and forth, and their banter is always good. Always been good.
On point.
Always
Monica
good.
is really quick with her wit.
Very much so.
And the delivery. The
Very much
delivery
so.
is very classic.
Very much so. So then we have this flashback happen where Clyde is messing with Doug, right? And then... so it goes back to the plane ride, and he's messing with Doug. He's got something in his ear or something like that. He's just messing with him like he always does. Nothing new. And then we see, which I thought was weird, where Doug starts making out with this old lady.
Yeah, I didn't understand the ambient sort of why. Why? Where did that come from? I know Doug does stuff that's just different, but it just kind of came out of nowhere.
Right. I thought it was... I thought it was really weird. Like, I really thought it was weird.
And the fact that he was still looking for his plane lever when they got to Cuba.
Yeah, I didn't.
Tricky.
To me, it didn't make there was no sense made for it. I mean, it's funny to see him, and I could see if he was it was an episode maybe the episode when they got really stoned out and super high, and then he runs into somebody like that and starts making. I think that would make sense. But him to just be making out with this lady on a plane out of nowhere.
Where'd it come from?
That was interesting. They meet up then with someone who basically is there in Cuba, and his whole point is that person is going to basically broker the deal, and he's going to get a cut from it. So basically, he's going to be the one to kind of help them to secure their spot with getting this deal with Cuba.
He's the plug.
And he starts explaining to them how they should approach in getting the deal, and they end up taking these meetings. They start going around Cuba, and they're not really getting much luck at first. And then they're like, you know what? Forget it. Let's enjoy the city. So they start enjoying the city. And I like this point because this to me was, and I believe the director was showing kind of where he wanted Marty to go. Because Marty's always been the hard nose, right? He's always been the one that does what Marty wants to do, kind of just, I'm gonna run you over type thing. You might not know it, but that's what I'm gonna do. My agenda is to make money and be as successful as possible by any means necessary.
Exactly.
That was always Marty's thing. And we see in this particular season how there were some things when we had to talk with Jeremiah, where Jeremiah's like, look, man, you need to start being a dad. I'm not going to play your role anymore. I want to be the grandfather. I want to do what I want to do. So there was that moment. There was some moments that he had with Jeannie when they have their daughter with them, and they're talking about that's when selling the company kind of came up,
right.
And that whole situation. And you just see him, getting to the softer side of what he's doing. And so I think this was a way to show where he wanted him to go. What do you think?
What I thought is that when they were driving through Cuba, I thought it was an excellent postcard for Cuba. I definitely want to make the trip over such a beautiful country. And I felt like that was part of it too. For whatever reason, I felt like they wanted to show the country and as it is and its beauty and the potential. Obviously, if you read in the news, the angle that Marty and Monica were taking to go to Cuba and exploit the land for its riches is obviously a familiar theme of capitalism from Americans.
Right.
And something that is very real and being talked about. So I thought it was great to kind of look at it from, what if you just kept it in its natural state? What if you just enjoyed it for its beauty? And I thought that Marty getting that revelation, sort of just being there and experiencing it, and the whole theme of Cuba can change your angles, can change your viewpoint. I thought that was important. That was an important setup because, as you said, as we've seen this season develop, we've seen both Jeannie and Marty sort of the changes that are happening with them and their viewpoint changing.
Absolutely. And I think it was good because, and I think that was that was an important part because that wedding scene that we see kind of was fluid throughout, the entire episode. And that was just like you said, picking up what you said about it being, the preservation of this wonderful city and what it has to offer and why do all these things, because it's beautiful just as it is. And speaking of that, we see where Jeannie is like, she has this moment where he's like, hey, let's go. He's like, no, I'm going to stay right here. And he's like, well, I think we should, and she's like, no. And they start going at it. And then she just flashes hard on him. And it was a situation where, to me, it was like a buildup.
It's been building all season because you can definitely tell, as you pointed out, that Jeannie's mindset is changing.
Right.
Parenthood, like it does with many people, has changed her outlook on how she wants to live her life and what's important for her.
But also, I see it as when she first was the one to say she loved Marty.
True.
Like, she said that, and she had those real feelings. Marty, of course, rejected her, even though he did love her back. But in true Marty fashion, he's like, I can't do that. That's not me. I'm not going to go there with you. And so, but I think she always has felt that, but she's had to suppress it because he didn't reciprocate. So then she and goes and takes on other lovers and gets boyfriends and, whatever. But then they end up, of course, having this child. And that's where everything, kind of comes full circle for him. Yeah. Because I feel like she always felt that. She always felt that, whether she showed it or not.
Right, like when we found out, was it season 2 that we found out Jeannie had a fiance all that time, and he just popped up, and it wasn't right, and she let him go so easily. And I think at that point, she and Marty had already had their like one-off tryst.
Sure.
Or something. So to your point, I think she just sort of suppressed it. Because as we talked about before, I think there's sort of two sides of the same coin.
Sure.
And evolving to the same place, even though Marty may not always realize it.
That's true. We then, after that, we see Marty end up with Monica. Now, this is where it starts getting confusing because it's like, wait, is this a flashback?
Right.
Did this happen right after? Would this happen before? Because we see it go back again later on in the episode. And I'm like, I understand Monica's involvement because, number one, she's the one that he's trying to beat out. But also, this is his ex-wife. This is the mother of his child.
And I thought it brought it back to probably the first time we saw Monica in season 1. Sort of that their weird dynamic where they are divorced and they go at it, but they are still very much, well, not currently, but involved with each other sexually. And it's a power play whenever they get together.
And that's what it is. It's really all about power. It's really all about power in that. And I think that's what showed, in this. I can see why the scene was there. But then I was confused because I was like, is this present time or is this past? Because of the way the episode was rolling. We then see Monica do her pitch with the Cole brothers, pitching over to the Q, and it just terrible. There's like something lost in translation. She's getting upset at the translator. And then, of course, it's not going well. And, everybody starts freaking out. You can
see it all in here. All in their faces. They were just like, you
and
Americans.
then the Cole brothers start fighting, as they always do. Like, in the middle of this, I'm like, why are they wanting... I mean, I understand they're rich, and they just basically want their company bought so they can just, chill on their millions. But it was just so funny. Like, why are you dealing with these crazy, crazy brothers? Because they are crazy.
Out of control.
Right. So then, after all of that, they find out, they basically, Monica blames Marty. She's like, this is your fault. This is all your fault. You're the one that did this. You're the one that, kind of put this in. And so, of course, Marty's loving this because now he sees the tables turning, going to his favor. And this is basically what he wants. So then they basically, we see the pod all together and they're talking about strategy, how they beat Monica, and then this whole opposite day comes up. And of course, Doug is clueless as always.
I was a little bit confused in that moment though too, because there were some moments of opposite day that actually weren't opposite day. It kind of felt like it was fast.
Right.
I got it, but it was fast. I kind of felt like I embraced Doug in that moment.
I'm telling you, like, this is, and I totally agree with you. It was like this episode needed to be an hour. Like, I really think it needed to be an hour to allow us allow it to end properly, allow it to breathe, and just really give it what we needed for a series finale. Like, if this was a season finale, maybe, okay. But a series finale, like, I felt like it needed more than what they could give us. And I think the director, like, had this vision of what he wanted. It was almost like they had, let's say, 5 more episodes to do, and they're like, oh, nope. you don't have those 5 episodes. You got to end this episode. And the director's like, and then he wants to put everything that he wanted into that. I don't know if that's really what happened.
I asked Jessica when she was here as a guest, the executive producer of House of Lies, if they knew when they were shooting that this would be the series finale episode. And she said they did. So
they did.
I went, yes.
Okay.
And so I went into it, well, they didn't know for certain, but they had an idea and set it up as such.
As such.
Yeah.
Okay. Because obviously it's easier to go the other way than to say not set it up that way, and then you're stuck.
Right.
Got it. So then after all of this whole opposite day shenanigans, then we see Marty basically asking Jeannie to marry him. And so, again.
Did that catch you off guard?
And well, I knew that it was because of how the show started. I knew there was going to be something with them.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was quite going to be a wedding type situation, but I knew because it, started with them, together on this beach, in this truck or whatever. I knew there was going to be something with them. However, yes, when he did that, at first I was like, okay, is this a dream sequence? They just talked about opposite day in the previous scene. Like, what is going on?
What's happening?
Right.
And can I just point out that if I was that bride, I guess the magic of Cuba bypassed that. But if I was a bride, don't propose to a woman at my wedding. This is my day. I'm the special one. I'm the queen with the crown. Don't do that. And then make it extended. Yeah. And you're strangers. You're not even invited. That was a bit much.
That was a lot, but I
appreciated it.
Again,
I appreciated
it, and I think I like that aspect because again, that did tie into basically them saying, because ultimately it got to the point where no, we're not selling this company.
Right.
We're going to keep what we're doing. We're going to now come together as man and wife. We're going to raise our child, and we're still going to kill,
Because I think we talked about this last week when Jeannie was bored out of her mind with Phoebe the day she took off.
Right.
And sort of with Marty, what will you do with all that free time? And for them, I don't think that they need that kind of free time. I think that would make them unhappy just being out of the game altogether.
Sure. And you made a good point because when Jeannie was with Phoebe, yes, she had that. And it was literally just one day. And she was bored out of her skull. And then I think when she asked Marty about it, and he's like, oh, well, we could just, take another job. So his thing is like, yeah, we sell the company, but then we still work. So then what's the point?
Right.
You might as well just continue working your own business. So, obviously, she says yes. This is what she's been waiting for. Again, it was very abrupt. And then, like I said before, they decide not to sell the business, and that's where they come to agreement, which I figured, going up to the point, like, I kind of felt it a few episodes ago that they're not going to sell the business.
Right.
The end result is they're not, because everything I feel like kept pointing to it. The struggle that they were having, how it was kind of, tearing them apart, all this kind of stuff, and even thinking about like they did what they're going to do.
Right.
So I kind of, that to me was somewhat predictable. Getting there, yes, was not. The whole wedding ceremony, proposal, blah, blah, blah.
Do you know what I wonder? Did Doug and, oh God, I just blinked. Clyde know that they got married? Because it was weird. I never saw them discuss it with Doug and Clyde or make mention of it. So I always wondered, like, do they know what happened?
Well, I don't think so. I don't think they told him. I mean, I think this was, okay. It's funny, it was like a public-private moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? It was obviously public, but since Clyde wasn't there, nor Doug, I think it was one of those situations where we're not going to sell the business, we got married, but we're going to tell them later. Like when we get back, when everything kind of settles down, which we obviously don't get to see because the show's over. So I think that's where that kind of came into play. I wasn't too thrown off from that. But the whole, like I said, how it was very abrupt coming together, yes.
But you know what's interesting, not being thrown out? I still, even though we know that Marty and Jeannie are the lead and, they still are very much a foursome. They move together, they sort of make decisions together. So I just thought it was an interesting choice because good, bad, or indifferent, they include them along with everything. So for them not to tell them or not to make reference to it was just kind of interesting to me.
Well, again, I just go back to the time. It's so little time to do what they want to do with the show that it's one of those things that we just have to imply. We just have to imply that, okay, yes, they told him eventually. Yes, they're fine with it, obviously. Like, why wouldn't they be, type situation. This is, this is the foursome. This is what, they want to take over. And so they're going to keep doing this, which to me, then it goes back to the like, because then it's like, I want to see another season now because they're not selling it. There's no riding off in the sunset. They're still going to be doing amazing things with their business, and I want to see it all, you know.
And to your point with Skip, just to kind of bring that back up.
Yes.
The ultimate was sticking it to Skip.
Yeah, that was great.
And once again, it ended up being, no, not selling.
Right.
Not even giving you any kind of light.
Right. I think that was probably the best part of the episode. I mean, aside from, of course, Jeannie and Marty coming together and getting married, which I wanted to happen, but just, you know, again, because it was so abrupt. But I'm glad they did, if nothing else.
I didn't mind them getting married in Cuba. I didn't mind the spontaneity of it. I didn't mind how it all went down. It just, in the afterglow of it, I'm just kind of like...
Well, I mean, to me, going from the scene when they're talking about opposite day to that's a lot. You know, and not saying you can't go to that scene, but just maybe a little bit more build up, you know, type thing. But maybe just because, I mean, we got to take it in, well, they've been building it up all season, you know, maybe we can look at it like that. But I do, going back to what you said, I do like the fact they took the time for them to stick it to Skip Galweather, because really that was what he wanted to do in the first place. You know, he always wanted to stick it to him.
Exactly.
So when he first wanted to buy the business, he's like, no. And that was his way of sticking it to him. You're not taking my business. Then when he found out, like, oh, he's going to get, well, then now I want to sell, you know. Now when he's like, no, I'm not, I'm sticking it to him because he wants him to. So it's like, either way, he's sticking it to, and it was great because he just looked like, you know, normally he's been the kind to look at this, you know, powerful figure and, you know, I mean, not that Marty was ever intimidated, but he kind of came with like, you know, I got something for you, you know, you need me type thing. And he was just groveling. I loved how he was groveling and he just looked so just like, no, but please, but I need you, you know, that, no, we're done.
Not
good.
at all.
All right, deuces. So, then we see Jeannie and Marty are stranded on the beach, and that comes back to, you know, full circle to the, of course, the first part of the episode. And they talk about it, like, what happened? And they find out they got married, stole this car, and then the package ends, you know, everyone dancing, which I did like that ending. Because to me, you know, going like, did they tell them they got married? Well, at that point, they have to know that they got married. So to me, that was implied resolution, if that's a term I could use.
Just celebrating.
Right, celebrating the whole
everything.
thing. And of course, it's celebrating because the season's now over and they still are together. At the end of the day, they're still together. They're still, you know, who they're supposed to be. And that's it.
That's it.
So, I don't know. I'm going to pose this question since we have a little bit more time. Season's over, right? And and I'm only going to say this because we've seen this happen before. Would you go for a House of Lies movie?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I'm not, because I'll tell you what, I'll use the Entourage comparison.
Okay.
So I liked the Entourage movie, but it felt like an extended version of the show. So I don't know if that's how movies are supposed to feel. So, because it wasn't bad. And I feel like the same thing with House of Lies. Like, how do you go through a movie and what are they? They're going to be chasing one big deal, like, or I just kind of feel like we should just leave it there.
I'm just curious. I mean,
what about you?
I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent. I mean, because I like the show, yes, I would love to see them come together again, just because I love their characters. And how they did things, and then too, because of the way it ended, I would like to see, like, the continuation. I would like to see. Because that's what it would be. It would be Jeannie and Marty married, you know, with their child. You know,
and how does that work?
How does that work?
Does Jeremiah still live with them? Where do they? Yeah, all those things. How does Monica react?
What's Monica to do? Because now she's, you know, of course she's still going to be in the picture somehow. How does that work? The pod, you know, Doug's, you know, his character and what's going on with him and what he's involved in. So Clyde, same thing. So they kind of, you know, had different moments throughout the season, so we would just see it all at once. So, I mean, I guess I'll put it like this. I wouldn't be mad at it. I think I would definitely go see it. But it would be interesting how they played it, because where do you go?
Yeah.
You know, where do you go? That's where you would go, but is it enough to hold a movie?
I mean, the writers are really creative, but where I am right now, there are some things that I would have liked to see wrapped up in it. Right. But I don't know if I want to see a movie, not because I don't enjoy the characters. I just kind of feel like it might fall short of my expectations because the bar is set very high for me.
It is set very high. Like, I mean, we've said this all season, and I've said it, in previous seasons. Like, these characters are just amazing. The writing is very amazing. I mean, the cast, how everything was put together. Like I said, my only complaint is that it just weren't hour-long episodes. I wish they would have done that because I think that there was a lot more that they could have done. I mean, the characters are that complex, that you could have done more with those.
Because to your point that you mentioned, a little more with Doug than with Clyde, but I still would have liked to explore a little bit of their sides away from the pod. Especially Clyde. I feel like Clyde was the one that we got the least amount of personal time with throughout the 5 years.
That's true. I agree. And Clyde's a great character. He had a lot to offer. He brought a lot to the table. So that's it, man.
That's it. Oh my God. What are we gonna do?
It's over. I know. What are you guys gonna
Marty
do?
Kaan.
What are you guys gonna do on your Monday nights? Because now you can't watch our. You know what? I know what you do. Now you can go to AfterBuzz TV. We got an app. You can go to House of Lies, and every single podcast that we've done, you can relive it.
You can relive it.
I think that'd be dope.
And a bunch of other shows, but most importantly, this one.
I mean, I'm just saying, But definitely, I'm sure all of you, if you're not subscribed, definitely subscribe to AfterBuzz TV. We do a number of shows, over 70 shows each week, are hosted on and are commented on all the time. And definitely you want to make sure you check in because who knows, your next show is going to be covered and you want to see and we could be covering it. I'm just saying because you love us already. You love us already. So why, just keep it going. Keep going. Keep the party going. Like I say it. I've been your host.
Don't stop.
I've been your host, Lynn Gonsalves. You can find me always, all day at The Poet Saint. Jill Munroe, for the last time, where can they find you?
For the last time, you can find me at Stiletto Jill, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all your social media favorites. Make sure to follow me.
Yeah. Follow her, follow me, follow us all. And we're going to see you on the flip side. Till then.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.